On the 5th of July 2019, Craig Smalls, also known as Michael Smalls, was shot dead outside a chicken shop on Harrow Road. It was just gone 8:10 and he was stood outside the chicken shop waiting for his meal when a man covered in a mask ran up to him and shot him at point blank range 2 times. Craig was rushed to hospital and pronounced dead at 9 o'clock. He was 32 years old and the father to 3 children. A murder investigation was launched and the police made several arrests weeks later, and a trial also followed, but that trial was thrown out of court and a second trial took place. And it is only now, nearly 5 years later, that his family have got justice at the Old Bailey. A man has been convicted this week for the murder of Craig Smalls, even though he didn't pull the trigger. Following a 9-week trial at the Old Bailey that started on the 17th of October 2023, Courtney Ellis, 38 years old, from the Brentford area, was found guilty of the murder of Michael Smalls, known as Craig. They said in court that this was an escalation of gang violence in the local area, and he was also found guilty of attempted murder of a different person and also perverting the course of justice. Christopher Kyei, 36 years old, also known as Skrapz, was found guilty of perverting the course of justice at the same trial. Both will be sentenced on the 2nd of February. Detective Superintendent Helen Rance from the Crime Command said Craig's murder was the tragic culmination of a series of reprisal attacks that was linked to gang activity. Craig was targeted, his murder was planned, and it was brutally carried out on the streets of Wembley, and Craig's death was senseless and serves as a reminder of the utter pointlessness of gang violence. She went on to say that it achieves nothing except devastating families and unleashing violence on the London streets. After the shooting, eyewitnesses gave an account to the police, and they seen a gunman run around the corner and get into a waiting car. Detectives later learned it was Courtney Ellis waiting in the driver's seat of a blue Mini that was using false plates. Immediately after the murder of Craig, Ellis and the gunman drove to Bridge Road in Wembley. They tried to shoot another man, but they said the gun failed. The police spent hours analysing CCTV footage of the journey the Mini took, and eyewitnesses had said they'd seen the shooting of Craig. It was subsequently tracked to several locations, and the sun visors in the car were pushed down to try to disguise the identity of both of the people inside. Following a series of raids, the police discovered several phones that were connected to Skrapz and also the man that has been convicted, Courtney Ellis. Police examined the phones and also laptops recovered from their home addresses, and they were used to establish a long-term relationship between Ellis and also Kyei. They discovered photos, voice notes and WhatsApp messages that confirmed the link between the two men and also references to previous acts of violence connected to gangland activity. When questioned by detectives, Ellis and Kyei denied any involvement in the murder. Craig's mother, Carol Campbell, said, "Not a minute goes by where Craig is still not at the forefront of my mind. His murder has totally destroyed our family. Craig was the father of 3 young children and his loss is immeasurable. He was a caring and kind person and there was no justification for his murder. We will never truly move on from the murder of Craig, and we have to take life in every moment. I want to thank the investigation team who worked tirelessly to get justice for Craig and all of the detectives involved." Detective Superintendent Rance continued and said, "This has been a long road for today's verdict. Craig's family have had to endure 2 trials, and I can underestimate the immense difficulty that this must have had over the past 4 years. Over the course of the investigation, mobile phone data was key to establishing the movements of both of the men on the day of Craig's murder and their actions that followed. There was significant planning that went into this attack, and officers were able to unpick and carefully view the CCTV and connect the mobile phone data to convict these men in front of a jury. One key thing they've never been able to discover was the wall of silence surrounding the identity of the gunman. Given the level of planning they said that went into Craig's murder, the gunman's identity will be known to others, but so far nobody has revealed the gunman's identity. So as many of you are aware, we covered this story when it initially happened, but we also have to be very careful when we're covering open cases so as not to influence any trials that may follow. That is mainly why we never covered any of the trial. We only cover after the trial, and this is very important because it's not fair to give somebody an unfair trial if they're the defendant, and it also doesn't help the family as well that are trying to get justice. In order to learn some more information about the history of Stonebridge and the violence that has occurred here, check out the video that I did on Kyei's brother's conviction. he was jailed for a machine gun, and they also in court went in depth into previous associated gang warfare that occurred in the local area. So I want to send my condolences to the family of Michael Craig Smalls and also his friends as well. This has took a long time, and thankfully everybody has now been able to put this to rest and hopefully can move on. I really appreciate you joining me and following the coverage over the past 4 years, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new and follow on social media for all other updates. I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Peace.